Hello everyone, welcome to the first devlog of Abyss Lurker. The game I have been developing for about 8 months and each survived one complete rewrite. To myself I call it roguelike extraction shooter, but I don't really want it to be defined by genre names, just a fun shooter game. When I started development I thought this game will be story-driven horror like Resident Evil 7 or something like that, and that's why it was rewritten. So the game started as PS6 horror, heavily inspired by Puppet Combo and wanted to make something similar. But I wanted to expand it with true FPS controller, procedural animations and cool gun interactions. Say Puppet Combo plus Resident Evil 7 plus Escape from Tarkov. I thought of many features, even implemented some like sanity levels and enemy vision, but scope creep is real. My animation workflow was horrible. First I downloaded some Mixama animations for my character model, then I found out they weren't really well suited for true FPS, and decided to use some Unreal Engine Marketplace animations. I imported my model and rig to Unreal, retargeted Unreal animations to Mixama, exported from Unreal to Blender, and exported from Blender to Godot. Pretty tedious workflow, I should say. I spent hours working with buggy Godot IK features, and then I finally got it working with one weapon. I came to the conclusion it will be a nightmare to implement it for each weapon in the game. Also, I've started to think about story for the game. I've had few rough sketches and ideas, but then time came to connect it all into a single story that makes sense. It turned out I suck at storytelling. It's obvious because I've never done it before. So I've decided to change this project a bit, to lean to my strongest sides, art and programming. I've ditched most of my code and decided to switch my project to Godot framework. It has great movement and interaction system. Somewhat decent inventory system. I spent some time trying to expand it to create separate inventory for weapons and equipable items. And it has no thought for people who want to use arms with animations alongside with wieldable items. But I've managed to solve it using signals to launch animations. I decided to switch from full body to arms only mesh for my game, so I've modeled, rigged and animated it myself. It's not hard, there's also a good tutorial by David Stanford on YouTube on how to do it. It's liberating to know all details of how your rig works. From now on I'm rigging and animating everything myself because it saves time in the long run. I was thinking about how can I make this game more fun and decided to focus on replayability through procedural generation. Player starts the game, moves through procedurally generated levels, fights enemies and defeats bosses, acquires loot and experience. If player dies he loses items, and if he lives he acquires new abilities and loot he collected during the run. I've built level generator to create terrain on grid and transform this grid to texture for a shader. First it creates caves and connects them, then finds borders of caves and spawns trees alongside the border. Then creates texture mask from grid by creating image from 2D array, which is used for level generation. And finally spawns all structures and ammo on the level. I've also created basic enemy types, melee and ranged enemies, floating and grounded. And I've prototyped the boss for the first level, he is almost done. I've also expanded Godot footstep profile system to material profile system, which includes impact sounds and the effects alongside with footstep sounds. Now I'm joined by a 3D modeler who helps me to create assets for the game, and I spend more time on designing and coding. So hard to manage such a large team, you know, I should write myself a bonus after release. I'm going to explore on how to combine all these things into a completed game. I want to create 4 more levels, and a base where a player will rest and buy upgrades between runs. Also infinite arena mode will be fun. I already started prototyping stat system and I have some idea on how to implement it in future to scale players and enemies to make game more dynamic when difficulty increases. I hope this is enough for an introduction. I will explore more on enemy design, UI overhaul and art in later videos.